invest in and follow principles. That has proved to be pretty successful.
This landlord's going to make almost $2 million over the next 12 years for doing something one time. And that's like residual. This guy's got another 7 retail spaces and he's got 10 stories of apartments above it. And I'm like, man, I'm on the wrong side of the coin, right? I need to own real estate, not broker it.
You start doing deals that are absolutely life-changing, like that put you on the path for intergenerational wealth.
Welcome to the Real Estate HomeRuns podcast. I am your host, Louis Van der Horst. This is a podcast for busy professionals who want to learn about passive income producing strategies that have helped others crush it in the real estate world. Whether you are a new or seasoned real estate investor, this is the podcast for you.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Home Runs podcast. Our special guest today is Jim Zaspel. Jim is an accomplished real estate investor and lifelong entrepreneur who has always believed in the adage, when you stop learning, you start dying. He is always learning and therefore is always ready to challenge himself and to take on new ideas. Jim is a huge fan of traveling because each new place offers so many opportunities that he would not ordinarily be able to try. He and his wife, who met at a real estate investor networking event, made the most of their honeymoon by spending 10 days in Hawaii. One of Jim's favorite memories of the trip was taking Maui's backside road to Hana. The experience is a perfect example of how he enjoys taking the road less traveled and exploring beyond his comfort zone. Always striving for ways to balance his work, his entrepreneurship, and his hobbies, Jim frequently travels around the country with his wife and stepson and for real estate investing conferences. These opportunities allow him to network with industry experts and at the same time, take an extra day or two to have fun in a new place. He enjoys renting motorcycles to explore these areas. What enables Jim to constantly grow, learn, and travel is the flexibility of his business. While the foundation of the company is rock solid, he can keep tabs on its day-to-day operations and can be run from almost anywhere. From emails to phone calls or FedEx deliveries, Jim can take his work with him. However, he also needs a team of dedicated specialists who can continue to run the business as he pursues his work-life balance. At the end of the day, Jim balances his real estate group, his entrepreneurship, and his outside interests by keeping one thing in mind. Whatever you're doing, give it 100%. Welcome, Jim.
All right. Welcome to our podcast. Jim, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
It's an honor. So I first learned about you through some local investors who were like, hey, you need to go to these groups in the Philly area and attend some of their seminars and watch some of the live streams. And I was like, what's the buzz all about? And that's how I came across Jim. So I'm really excited, looking forward to this interview. So tell me how your passion for teaching started.
It starts with just the impact that real estate itself as an industry, as an investment vehicle has had on the impacts out of my life, on my family's life, and maybe later I'll share how it's kind of transformed it. But it starts with one, if I got some good news, right, I want to share it, right? That's true, from a religious perspective, it's true from a business perspective, it's true from every perspective. You got some really good news. What are you going to do? You're going to tell people about it because it can help them as well, unless you're a greedy son of a gun. I'm not a greedy son of a gun. That was part of it. But, also I remember the very first seminar I went to, I was in Chicago in September of 2008, which is a very momentous month, right? That is so cool. These people teaching, I so appreciated the value these teachers and speakers were giving to my life. I want to be that guy someday. And so I had a bunch of seminars and groups. Right? You remember I said the meet. By the way, how long ago did you come to my meetup groups, my REIA meetings in Philly? How long ago was that?
About a year now.
Okay. You must have met, I was a speaker at Nick Tang's event. That must have been where we met. If it was a year ago, because I haven't done my own events in 2.5 years. So yes. I did the REIAs and stuff in Philly for 5 years and had a blog and did seminars and all that kind of stuff. And it was October of 2018. I had a 2-year-old son at the time, and it was a Friday afternoon. It was unseasonably warm. I put the mountain bike in the back of my SUV. I was going mountain biking, and I was the next day I was teaching a wholesaling workshop, and I was going to make 20 or 25 grand the next day. So I'd sell some different things. And it's this is absolutely ridiculous. I'd spend, and if you're watching this and I don't know if you have a day job, maybe you had these kind of epiphanies as well, where it's there's got to be a better way. That Saturday was going to be the 18th full or partial Saturday. I spent away from my family on stage selling or teaching or speaking, right? And I was there's got to be a better way. So I went on Facebook Live on the spur of the moment and said, hey, last time you're ever going to be in my seminar for at least all 2019, we'll see about beyond. And here we are 2.5 years later, I haven't had a seminar yet, and it's the best decision I ever made. And
those were mainly focused on wholesaling, real estate, and flipping?
Yeah, wholesaling and fix and flips, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that transition like into rentals now and other types of investments? Can you walk us through that?
So just for some history, I started off wholesaling. Within a couple of years, I had a good number of rentals, 40 something. And within a very short period of time, I lost every single one of those and got my backside handed to me. And then at the end of 2012, I was 300 grand in debt. And I've been in a number of lawsuits, and it was just not good. It was a bit rough time. Early 2013, decided to reinvent myself. Not reinvent, but like start over, really. That's all it was. And so I faced the wrongs I had done, and I made right the wrongs I had done, and had to pay everybody back. I did. I paid everybody back in full with interest. I'll never forget, it was January, I think right around January 1st, 2013. I'm a big believer, big fan of New Year's goals, New Year's resolutions. And I was like, I've been kind of running from some of my problems for the better part of 2012. And I was like, you know what? I'm better than this. I know better. I was raised better than this. This is not right. But sometimes you get so deep down a hole where you can't see your way out sometimes. And that's kind of where I was. But I'll never forget it. The guy by the name was Steve Lloyd. You've probably seen him around on Facebook and whatnot. He said one thing to me. He said, Jim, I didn't have any business dealings with him, but he knew some of the trouble I was going through. He said, Jim, he said, here's what you got to do. You got to call everybody you owe money to, and you got to tell them, I'm going to pay you back. Tell them, say you don't know when, but tell them you're going to pay them something every single month, even if it's $10. I called everybody back and said, I'm going to pay you back. Bad news is I don't know when, don't know how. It's the hardest day working of my life. So in just under 3 years, about 2.5 years later, I'd done that. But so anyway, to ask you the transition, so I had to start flipping and wholesaling a lot more just to start paying back that money. And what are we, 2021 right now? So 2018, 19, I guess. I got the courage to start buying rental properties again. And so I did.
Was that for the long-term goal or to just have more stability and more control in what was coming in?
Well, rental properties are great. And we'll talk later about why they're so valuable and important to have part of your portfolio, but they're not something that makes you money in the short term. And that's something that people get disappointed with very quickly. And then the people like you and me buy their properties, right? Because they thought they were going to be their saving grace and wind up taking a little bit of money up front to make the thing work. And so there's some best practices you can follow to minimize that negative financial impact at the beginning, but it was really for this purpose of long-term wealth building. I'm 34 right now, so I really started buying heavy when I was 32 or so. So why did I do this for long-term wealth building? And it's just one of those things that makes sense to do. And then I also bought a small self-storage facility on New Year's Eve.
Awesome, congrats.
Yeah, it was the easiest money I've ever made in my life. It's ridiculous. It's a small one, so not a ton of money, but it's like, holy crap, this is easy. Like I do nothing.
I hear that some people rent out the self-storages that just go in maybe once every 3 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But it sounds like you have had quite the journey from having a taste of success and then losing, all of it and ruining some of the relationships and partnerships that you had and then having to build those bridges again. It's cool to see your transition and journey. Yeah,
I made the decision in January 2013 to kind of face my fears and face my problems and make my wrongs right. And part of that journey involved, because I'd gotten kicked out of every single RIA meeting in the area. And everybody freaking knew me. Everybody. I went to all the networking meetings, but I got kicked out for good reasons, honestly. I deserved it. So I decided, you know what? If I can't join them, I'll beat them. And so I started my own RIA meetings with two goals. One was to out-earn the reputation I'd earned myself, which is no small feat. And then secondly was to have the biggest group monthly meeting of real estate investors in Philadelphia, which we did. We were consistently well over 100 people a month at those meetings. It's like, you get into it, I was like bull in the china shop, man, just breaking every single rule, doing all the deals in the wrong areas, which is a lesson learned, and didn't manage my tenants or my contractors well. And on paper, I think when I was making $18,000 a month net cash flow, I think that happened in 1 month. And then before you know it, people weren't paying me, and before you know it, 8 out of 46 units were actually producing income on a monthly basis. And I didn't come from money. I didn't have much money at the time, so couldn't float that very long. And the little empire imploded very quickly. I'll tell you that right now.
So how did you make that change? Are there any practical tips or strategies that you implemented to help you make those wrongs right? Whether it was better management or having mentors in place?
So in terms of making the wrongs right, so it's two questions at once. In terms of making the wrongs right, you just got to be honest with people and you got to communicate with people, right? So if you're watching this and there's some obligation you have to somebody of any kind, financial or otherwise, and you are not living up to it, first of all, ask yourself, are you doing everything you can to live up to it? If you are not able to keep a promise, you got to communicate. And it's as hard as that is to do, you've got to. And then don't over-promise people just to kick the can down the road farther, which is a mistake I made a lot when I first got started, right? It's like $10 a month we talked about. That's not exactly over-promising. Like, I don't know when, I don't know how, $10 a month, like, I can keep that promise. And so I did. And that was the promise I made. And then, wound up, paying people back. But so one was just facing my fears. And, I just got to a point where I was so afraid to say, hey, weren't you the guy that whatever, hey, so-and-so, I heard this and the other, because it would happen, right? Again, I was relatively well known in the area. And when you're beat down and fragile, that kind of stuff like rattles you for the rest of the day or even the week and just makes you not want to stick your head up out of the sand again. So face your fears, face your problems. Don't bury your head in the sand. Time and hope are not good strategies for fixing problems, right? Facing them head on and being honest about where you are and then working your ass off to fix these problems. That's what it takes.
That's great. Are there any things that you're doing in addition to that to help you prepare for the future?
Yeah. So in terms of how did I change the business, I stopped doing the rental properties. Are kind of what took me under just because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So I just built up my cash flow or cash reserves rather for a while, flipping a bunch of houses. And we still flip a ton. Last year we did 154 houses. So about 28 or 30 of those are rental acquisitions, and the rest were either wholesales or fix and flips. About 31 or 32 fix and flips, just under 30 rentals, and then so about 90, 95 wholesales last year. So I think it's important that if you're going to get into the rental property game, you've got to have active income to supplement when maybe the HVAC unit goes, right? Or if you're a first contractor, you're higher. Like people do the same thing in the fix and flip business, right? They line up their budget to the T, and then there's one $5,000 overage, and they don't know what to do. And if your budgets are that tight, it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make the deal bad. It just means that maybe you shouldn't be doing that just yet, right? Build up a little bit more cash just in case. So that's part of what we've done. We've saved. I'm a big fan of rentals, and I got big goals, but the deal's got to make sense today. And if they go wrong, is it going to take me under? If the answer is yes, then I run really fast away from it. Yeah.
What are 3 things that have helped you hit real estate home runs in your journey?
I don't chase home runs. I love a home run. We signed a contract on a home run yesterday. It'll be a company record when it closes. It's not closed yet, but it'll be a company record. It might be a $200,000+ profit deal. We'll see. It's a single family house, so I know I can wholesale and make a low 100s. I might fix and flip and make 200s. We'll see. But I don't chase home runs. I'm about predictable outcomes based on actions I can control with regards to how I train my people, with regards to the marketing. Why do we get in this business, right? We get in this business for freedom to change our life. And maybe the guru or the person that we kind of first followed into the industry, flashes lots of checks and Lamborghinis, which this is the only industry where people do that. Like maybe this is stock trading, that's it. But you don't see doctors out there having Facebook groups taking pictures of checks. This industry, for some reason, attracts a lot of crazy people, but I just feel it's important. So we get into this thinking of life-changing checks. Everybody puts up the testimonial of a student making $100,000. I can tell you this: I think I've done 1 or 2 deals where I've made $100,000. That's it, and I'm cool with that. I don't care. But man, I do a lot of deals. So a lot of deals at $20,000, 30, 50, 80, whatever it is, they add up. And so I don't chase home runs. But what I do is I'm consistent. I'm the most persistent and consistent person you'll ever meet, especially persistent. I was telling somebody the other day, I said, I'm like a cockroach. You can't freaking kill me. I just keep going back for more, right?
That's quite the analogy there.
It's not exactly flattering, is it? So I think the tenacity is, I believe, the most important virtue characteristic that somebody who's running their own business can possibly have. It is so important because it's not if, it's when you get kicked in the teeth. Even if you don't lose all your properties and all that kind of stuff, there will be setbacks. And if you're the kind of person who is, one little setback and you're like, oh, woe is me. This is so horrible. Real estate sucks. So you're probably not cut out for it. I'm sorry, you're not. Maybe you need to be somebody who, if you've got some money, you find somebody who's got that intestinal fortitude, who can get kicked in the teeth, who's a good, solid operator. Maybe you're better off putting your money to work with somebody else like that, as opposed to trying to be the investor yourself, be the entrepreneur yourself. And that's an important distinction, just to some self-realization to know whether or not that's you. Because people say, oh, real estate's a great business. I'm like, yeah, if you've got a stomach of steel, it's the best business in the world. I love it. But if you don't, it'll eat you alive.
What are 2 other things that you would say? So don't chase home runs and pursue practical or predictable outcomes. Yep. Any other things? People look at me a lot of times. I used to do seminars, and a lot of folks that are attracted to seminars were newer in the business or wanting to start off wholesaling or whatever. And a lot of people look at me like I got like 3 heads or something like that and say, what's it really take? I mean, I can't tell you the number of times people ask me, what's it really take to be successful in real estate? Like there's something I'm holding back. I mean, I spent like 3 freaking days
States.
What's the secret?
Stage, right? What's the secret sauce? What's the secret sauce? And the reality is there isn't any, right? It's not a secret. I'll give it to you right now. You get in the business and you stay in the business, period. And while you're in the business, you keep doing the things that work. And if it doesn't work, you change course and do something else. Real estate as an industry has made more millionaires than any other industry. Real estate works. I'll tell you a question. I'll tell you a story rather, and this goes to answer your question. I remember I don't remember what year this was. It was early on. I was really struggling. And I lived in my parents' house, right? I didn't have any money. I was broke, and any money I did get, I put back into marketing. And besides, I just ran the business like an absolute idiot. So I didn't have any money. So I lived in my parents' house, my early 20s, early mid-20s, still living in my parents' house. Nothing wrong with that, but that wasn't ideal. It was not by choice, put it that way. And my dad asked me a question one time. I love my parents. I'm super close still to my parents. I bought them a $500,000 house in Montgomery County so they could live closer to us, start having kids. And now we moved 7 minutes the other direction. We closed in 2 weeks on a new $2 million house. And
awesome.
I'm like, I'm sorry, we're moving farther away. I said, but they've got this lot that the sellers that they're selling. And so I spent $481,000 buying this piece of dirt that I'll probably build a house for my parents. So real estate can change your life. Point of this story is this. My dad had asked me a question. It was a turning point for me. He said, Jim, when is real estate going to work? When is it going to work? And I thought for a second. And I thought, you know what? It would be really easy for me to say, I don't know. It's just a lot harder industry than I thought it was. It would have been easy to say, well, this son of a gun contractor ran off for $30,000. These idiot tenants just won't pay their rent. Like, it could have been very easy for me. And a lot of people give themselves this scapegoat, right? This easy out of not taking responsibility. And I'm really thinking through, like, why isn't it working? And I just kept blaming contractors, tenants. It's hard. Competition. I was like, you know what, Dad? Real estate works. I said, I just got to figure out how to work it. I said, I'm gonna. And refusing to give control of your future over to somebody else and taking 100%, even though people screw you over, because they will, right? This world is not the nicest. I love this world. It's not the nicest place in the world all the times, right? Even though bad things happen, we've got to refuse to put control of our financial future, our future, and in somebody else's hands. Because the moment you do that, you no longer have control of your life. I think that's important. So that's like, don't make excuses for yourself is important.
That's great. So how can people stay in contact with Jim, find out what Jim is up to?
Sure. Well, first of all, when I made that decision 2.5 years ago to stop doing seminars, that weekend, I turned off my ClickFunnels account. I don't sell any courses anymore, none of that kind of stuff. So I got nothing to sell, but I love connecting with people. And if you're local, I live in Montgomery County. My office is at Glenside. And whether you're new or not, if you want to get together and pick my brain, I used to charge $1,000 an hour for people to pick my brain. Anymore, I do it for free. I'll do one lunch. You come to a restaurant here in my office, and we'll have lunch, we'll have a drink, and you'll pay. And then what we'll do is I'll give you a list of things that you can do, like come prepared with questions, right? Pick my brain. Don't be shy about it. And I'll give you a list of things to do. Basically your goals, basically what you want to do. Here's what I recommend you do. And then I don't ever want to hear from you again until you've done those things. Then I'm not saying you, Luis. I'm saying like anybody else. Mm-hmm. And then if you've done those things, like let's do lunch again. It's cool. So how to reach out to me. I'm not going to give my cell phone number. What I'll do is I'll connect with me on Facebook. And you can message me on there if you want. I think I'm the only Jim Zaspel on Facebook. So it's facebook.com/Jim Zaspel. So that's probably the best way to reach out to me because emails go to spam and I never return phone calls. So Facebook is the best way.
Awesome. Hey, thank you for your time. I really enjoyed it.
Hey, you bet. It's my pleasure. And this is a great thing what you're doing here. And I think and if those of you watching, this is an act of service, what he is doing. I put on a podcast. There's no small feat. And I know he's got a lot of cool guests lined up. So y'all are in good hands.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this interview and got some value out of it to help you in your real estate investing journey. If you can take just a minute, please do us a favor and leave a review. Hit the like button on iTunes or whatever platform you listen to our podcast on, and subscribe so you can hear future episodes. Also, don't forget to check out our Real Estate Home Runs Podcast Community Facebook group, where you are able to connect with some great listeners. If you're an investor who is crushing it and want to share some information centered around passive income in real estate, please contact us. Hit those home runs, and we will see you next time.